Survivors of attempted murder, what is your story? I've posted about this before, but talking about it every once in a while feels kinda good, so here we go. I was shot twice in the head while camping in a Forest Service campground, so not on some dude's property. The asshole woke me up in the middle of the night with a strobe light. I had never met him, and I definitely never did anything to him. He was on meth and I guess went cruising for some murdering, and thankfully he f***ed it up. I woke up to my tent flashing. There was no cell service whatsoever where I was camping, so after a period of just being completely dazed and confused, I decided that I would just face whatever was coming. I got out of my tent expecting something to happen pretty quick, but nothing did. The strobe light was set up a bit behind my car, so I was pretty sure going for my car was the wrong call, but I was pretty much at a loss for what I should do. I stood there for a while with my cell phone's flashlight, trying to think of something, when he finally decided to do something. The first shot just grazed the back of my head and just nicked my ear. It scared the shit out of me and spun me around a bit. The second bullet hit between my ear and beard and knocked me over sideways. The impact of it was by far the loudest thing I've ever heard. Thankfully it hit at an angle and was a small caliber. Never really got an answer for what exact caliber it was, so instead of f***ing up my brain, it bounced off of my skull and just broke most of the bones in my cheek and around my eye. I lay there, on my tent, having decided to just let him take whatever he wanted, and thought intensely about my breathing until I heard the loudest truck I've ever heard start up and drive away. Thinking back, I still don't understand why he shot me and didn't even steal anything. I'm pretty sure I was saying this over and over in the first hospital that I was at, but at the time I just thought, well, time to get up. So I pushed myself to my feet, found my glasses, and went to my car. My glasses, and everything else, were covered with blood, so I found a bottle of water and started cleaning them off when I heard the truck come back. I absolutely freaked the f*** out. I tried to hide by leaning down into the passenger seat, but my car was packed with stuff for camping, so I couldn't get down very far. I guess it was enough though, because he just drove a loop around the campground and then left. I quickly finished cleaning my glasses, wiped off the windshield. It was extremely fogged up, so I could see, and started up my car. I managed to back out of the space I was in and drove out of the campground and down the highway. I found a big space to pull over that also just barely had cell service and called 911. I was pretty out of it by then and was starting to throw up a lot, but I managed to tell the amazingly patient woman that answered where I was. 3 surgeries and 7 total nights in a hospital later, I've lost most the vision in my eye and one of the muscles in my jaw had to be surgically detached, but somehow I don't have any hearing loss. Decently bad tinnitus though. The police thankfully caught the guy pretty quick and he's still awaiting trial. Me. How horrifying. Props to you for managing to drive after being shot in the head twice. Thanks, I'm still kind of amazed that I managed it. Adrenaline and shock, I guess. A boyfriend beat the hell out of me in the middle of a snowstorm and left me to die. Hypothermia, fractured skull, broken ribs. I had to have my nose and orbital bones reconstructed. Blood transfusions, 15 stitches in my mouth, broken teeth, a broken hand. A year of psychical therapy because I tore both ACLs trying to get away. I've been in 3x a week therapy for a decade. I skipped a song on the iPod we were both using when we were high as kites. I never found out what person was crazy enough to be jogging in February in the middle of the night in Canada that found me, but they saved my life. Some people go out in the middle of the night worrying they'll be killed. Some people go out in the middle of the night worrying they'll have to save someone's life. High on what? Speedballs, a mix of IV heroin and coke, probably meth. There seems to be a meth theme in this thread. My father isn't mentally ill, not diagnosed at least. He's odd though. One moment he's just calm, then a minor thing goes wrong and he flings his food through the room, starts bashing on you or insults you until you cry. He was perpetually calling me fat, friendless, etc. Until I was at the point of suicide. When I made tests at school I broke down and cried whenever I thought it was going poorly just because I was afraid he'd find out about a bad grade. When I was 19 me and my mom ran away from him. We just fled to the other side of the country, taking our dog and the 6k euros I'd saved up to go live on my own. It went well for a while. We got a restraining order, etc. We eventually were forced to go for the house since we didn't have the money for a new rental home. Our old had ridiculously low rates and my mom was too mentally broken to even leave the house. Anyway, about a year after we got the home, we were walking the dog. Out of nothing, my dad comes from around the corner and tries to run us over. He's tried many ways to contact or mess with us, but this time there was finally proof. Until this point the police thought we were just reporting his actions to win the divorce. He walked out of the car and in a fear-driven rage I hit him and he ran off. I'm a big dude even if I'm scared of him. The trial took a year and they couldn't get him for attempted murder. He got 2 years probation, no jail, and a fine. The Dutch legal system is a joke sometimes. I'm fairly desensitized to his after the years. But since the verdict, I'm afraid that if he's going to do some now, he'll have to make sure we can't report it. It's shaken me pretty hard. As I fled to the other side of the country, I thought he'd be relatively safe. Then you said Dutch legal system. The other side of the country is always just a few hours away here. My biological mother is schizophrenic and decided to go off her medications once again. During that time, she decided that I was going to be safer with the angels than with all the demons. Some of these were straight up delusions and others were fueled by pure paranoia. So, she took me into the bathroom, filled up the tub and nearly succeeded in drowning me. Would have succeeded had the man she was shacked up with at the time not walked in at the right moment, dragged her off of me, and started to administer CPR until the EMTs arrived. Thankfully, this incident finally allowed the courts to pull their heads out of their asses and remove me from her custody and have her declared as an unfit parent. This could have likely been prevented had they figured that, considering she was declared unfit twice when in custody battles involving both my younger siblings, the court would have been like, hectometers, if she is unfit for them, maybe she is unfit to care for her eldest. But alas, this was 24 years ago when the court system was even worse than it is today about this kind of thing. The only lasting damage I really had from this event was that for the majority of my childhood and into my late teens I had a deep phobia of bathtubs. When I was younger I was so terrified of them I would have panic attacks if I even had to use the toilet in a bathroom that had a tub in it. That level dropped as I got older into an extreme dislike and aversion to them, but at least I didn't have panic attacks unless I tried to use them. I eventually did get over it. How old were you when this happened? I was 4. Damn. Shout out to the guy your mom was shacked up with, though. My abusive mother went crazier than usual and had a complete break with reality when we were snowed in alone for 3 days. On day 2 in the afternoon she started talking about suicide and how we were already dead and stuff. We all need to get it over with. We need to eat the dogs. WTF. We had food. Better we die fast than slow. When she went outside to look for some twigs, wood stove in converted school bus parked in a mountain area, I hid all the sharp objects. She comes back in with this weird look in her eyes. Like they were just empty, nobody home, and demands that I bring her the sharpest knife I can find. I pretend to search while trying unsuccessfully to talk her down. She gets more and more angry, refuses to tell me what she wants the knife for, and eventually I offer her a spatula since she keeps insisting she needs something with a sharp edge. She knocks the spatula out of my hand, calls me a useless bitch, and starts beating me up. I just let her hit me because I was hoping that would satisfy her enough that she wouldn't harm the dogs or keep looking for a weapon. She finished slapping me around, yelled some more, kicked stuff, threw things at me, and stormed back outside. Came back in maybe 10 minutes later, calm and collected. Asks me if I want lunch. Like nothing had happened. We were rescued late the following night and spent the rest of the winter in a homeless shelter. I was 17. The dogs were fine. They were fostered until my stepdad found us a rental. Mom had in the past choked me, beaten my head on a concrete floor, and threatened me repeatedly with hammers. Said she'd bury me in the woods and tell everyone that I ran away, but I'd never seen her eyes empty like that before. Usually she was either aging out, or she had this dark joy in her eyes that showed she was enjoying hurting me. I turned 18, joined the Navy, never looked back. Good on you for hiding those knives. Thanks. I'm glad I had the presence of mind to do it. My fraternity roommate tried to cut my throat when he was drunk. I took the knife and threw it across the street into a field. Then I went to bed and we pretended it never happened. He's a dentist now. What the hell? Just like that? More story? Did the roommate casually approach you with a knife? Was he angry? What set him off? He was drunkenly accusing me of f***ing his ex-girlfriend. I hadn't. They've been married for the past 20 years. He must have been nearly blackout drunk if you could take the knife easily. Or incompetent. I had a girl start stalking me once. She wrote me a note threatening to kill me and signed it in her blood. Later that week she tried to run me over with her car as I walked through a park with some friends. I hid behind a tree and she ran the car into the tree, damaging both the car and the tree, and then drove off. The police were called but her dad was a semi-important person and she never got held responsible for trying to kill me, just for damaging the tree. I went and got a restraining order and a gun permit right after she did this, and her father moved her out of state somewhere. Nobody should get away with it just because their family is important. Disgusting. Agreed. Tell that to the Kennedys.